people.
Welcome to the Inspiring Marriages Podcast. We are Jeff and Teresa Fields, and the music that you heard was all composed and recorded by our son, Joseph Taylor Fields.
We've been happily married for 32 years. We have 3 wonderful grown children, a fantastic son-in-law, and a beautiful, precious grandbaby.
As we share our story, our desire is to inspire couples to build their friendships and thus build their marriages in all areas. Spiritually, emotionally, romantically, and physically.
That's right. So you can go to our webpage, inspiringmarriages.net, and there you can access all of our previous episodes, including all of the show notes. I really like that. Below the episodes, there is a Keep in Touch section, and there you can sign up to receive our latest offerings for free.
Yes. Last week, Teresa, we talked about unmet expectations, and from Webster's 1828 dictionary, we had this definition: is the act of expecting or looking forward to a future event with at least some reason to believe the event will happen. Expectation differs from hope. Hope originates in desire and may exist with little or no grounds for belief that the desired event will arrive. Expectation is founded on some reasons which tender the event probable.
I think that meant probable, right?
Hope is directed to some good. Expectation is directed to good or bad, unfortunately.
Right. And we did talk about that a bit last week, and you may have noticed we've been sharing some reels from last week's episode. So you can look on the Inspiring Marriages Instagram, the Inspiring Marriages Facebook page, and you'll see some of our new reels that we're doing from the episode, so you have an idea of what is in each episode now.
So today we want to emphasize fundamental expectations in marriage. These are expectations that every married couple should be expect. It's reasonable for them to expect. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yes, and healthy expectations.
They're healthy expectations. And they're good expectations.
Right.
So it's more than hope. These are realistic expectations that you should have in your marriage.
Right. Because if you don't, then it's not going to be a good marriage.
Right. Because in a good marriage, there is submission to each other.
Exactly.
So we found the verse that we're going to start with. It's a very familiar verse for all the married people. It's Ephesians 5:21. Now, the Passion Translation, it says, Teresa, and out of your reverence for Christ, be supportive of each other in love. So as you enter a marriage, of course you love each other. Well, you supposedly anyway, but you should support each other.
That's right. That's really big, because some people don't feel supported in their marriage. They might think, all my dreams, all my desires are just from me, and my spouse is not supportive in helping these things come to pass and be a reality. Yes. So the New King James Version says for Ephesians 5:21, submitting to one another in the fear, or you could say reverence, of God. That's really good. So because God is the author of a marriage, and because we've been telling our story, you'll know that we did not put ourselves together to be married. God did that. And you reverence and honor God by submitting to one another, because you understand God put your marriage together. God is the one who sustains your marriage if you're both submitted to Him and to one another.
You know, Teresa, I looked up that word submit in the Greek, and it means submit. It means exactly what it says it means. It is really, you defer what you're wanting right now for the betterment of the other person. It really is.
That's good.
And sometimes it's something you don't want to do.
Oh, yes. So
but
true.
It is always so beneficial to honor the other person by submitting to them. Right. Now, I found a version I never heard of before. It's called the Names of God Bible. It says, place yourselves under each other's authority out of respect for Christ. So Christ means the anointed one and his anointing. So out of respect for the anointing, place yourself under each other's authority.
Yes, that's so good. I really like that. And that doesn't mean that one person is just lording over the other one. You submit to each other, because so many people's marriage model has been so distorted by traditions of men, even well-meaning Christians thinking submit was only for the wives. The woman has to submit to the man, and the man is the head, and he has all the say-so. And that's not the Bible picture at all.
Right.
It's not correct.
The way I view this, Teresa, and the way I've always viewed it, we're talking about submitting. If I'm the head of the house, that means, it doesn't mean I get my way. That means if anyone wins, Teresa's winning.
Wow.
That's what that means.
That's great. I like that.
If anyone eats, it's Teresa and the kids eat.
Wow.
So it's her hopes and her dreams, because I'm spiritual head of the house. It's my responsibility to see that those dreams come to fruition, doing my part. Just doing what I can to fulfill those dreams. That's what that means.
That's so good.
It's not that I'm the boss and you must do what I say, woman.
Exactly.
Right.
It really, if you view it correctly, it's, you're responsible to answer to God for how our marriage, how our household is going. I mean, I answer to God personally, but he answers to God for the whole package. God didn't ask Eve what happened when they sinned. He asked Adam.
Yes, Adam.
What have you done? Why are you hiding from me? What is going on? And of course, God knew, but he was holding Adam accountable for both Adam and Eve's behavior.
You never know what would have happened if Adam had taken responsibility.
Right.
But we are where we are, and we have a glorious Savior who did take responsibility and took care of all of that for us.
He took care of all of that for us, but eventually they were going to fail because they were mankind. They were not angels, who just have to obey. They're created to obey, but we were created to have a choice. So I love this. We're choosing to submit to one another because we love the Lord. We honor him. We reverence him. So in the New American Standard Bible, the 1995 edition, it looks like it says, and be subject to one another in the fear of Christ. And of course, that does not mean being afraid of the Lord or being afraid of the Anointed One, but it's honor and respect and reverence. That's
right. So being subject, you kind of think of the English royalty, where they're subjects to the king, or the queen. Now it's the king. They're subjects to the king of England, or king of any country, or the queen of a country. So that's how we should be to each other. Whatever Teresa needs, I will do it. So it's just being subject to one another, and whatever I need, Teresa will do it. There are needs I have that only Teresa can meet. There are needs that she has that only I can meet. That's why we're subject to each other.
Oh, yes. It's such a beautiful model, too. And, of course, we'll get into it later, but Christ and the church, such a beautiful model.
So, Teresa, we want to come across, and we came up with a list of fundamental expectations in marriage. These are things that you can reasonably expect in your marriage.
Yes, because some people get married and they think, I shouldn't expect anything of my spouse, or your spouse might be thinking, he or she shouldn't expect anything of me. We're married, but I still want to live my life.
Right.
And that's a very selfish way to be in a marriage. It usually ends in disaster.
Right. So the first one really it applies to both those who are in courtship, and also applies to those who are engaged, and certainly applies to those who are married.
Absolutely.
You should expect faithfulness.
Right.
And this faithfulness is unwavering.
Right.
It's faithfulness in your physically, mentally, it's in words and deed. Teresa should expect me to be faithful to her in my mental images. That's why things like pornography are just so damaging to a relationship.
Yes, absolutely.
It is being unfaithful to a spouse. It really is. And it's an addiction that I'm sure that, unfortunately, well, now there's a growing number of women who are addicted to pornography, and it's a dangerous thing.
Yes, so dangerous, because what you're filling up your mind and your heart with is going to affect how you relate to your spouse. If you're filling up on images and material and fantasies about other people that you're not married to, that is bringing all those other people into your marriage and invading that holy place that God said a marriage is supposed to be holy and reserved just for the two people.
Right.
So that's a very serious encroachment on your marriage.
The words, and we'll put this in the show notes, the word says that the marriage bed should be kept undefiled.
Undefiled.
Right.
That's so good. And of course, physically, that's just a no-brainer. Being physically faithful to your spouse, you can expect that. And even in the engagement phase, if someone can't be physically faithful to you,
or even courtship,
or even in courtship.
Well, we talked about that before. That someone should.
That's a deal breaker.
If you're in a courtship relationship with someone, they should not be seeing other people.
Exactly. And they might just say, "Well, I'm just an affectionate person." No. Not with the opposite sex. You don't need to be an affectionate person. Only with the person you're going to marry or already married to.
Sure.
Yes. I need that red flag. I'm missing my red flag. All right. So you want me to start the second one? Okay. We have several, so we may not get through all of these. Okay. Affection. You can expect your person that you're engaged to, your spouse, or even someone you're considering marrying, to be, faithful in their affection. I mean, this goes with faithfulness too. Verbally and physically, they're going to be affectionate to you, and that's just what would you say? Just like they love you, so how can they help but show it? How can they help but speak it? They should be able to speak to you, tell them tell you how they feel, and show it physically, and especially in the marriage.
Especially in marriage.
Should not withhold that ever.
Right. So verbally, they should always speak words of encouragement and never names or something derogatory towards the other person.
Yes.
And so that holds true for courtship and engagement and marriage. That holds true. You should always speak words of encouragement.
Yes, I like that.
And speak things that the scriptures say about the person. Teresa has the mind of Christ. The word is a lamp unto her feet. She sees where she's going. She's quick to obey. She's quick to hear. And to speak words of affection to each other. Call each other honey and baby bear and whatever you want to call each other.
We had a bunch of those.
So, but once you get into marriage, there all should be physical affection. There should be non-sexual hugs. There should be sexual activity. There should just foot rubs and back rubs and neck rubs and just hugging and just holding hands. There should be physical affection. You should be able to expect in marriage affection.
Exactly. And if your parents did not have a good model of that, now of course they couldn't show all of their affection to each other in front of their children, but at least they would hug and kiss, hopefully in front of their kids, and act affectionately. But some people did not have that model, and they think, well, I don't think I have to do that. But yes, you do. You have to just get past whatever you saw that was not a correct model. You have to know this is for a healthy marriage. You've got to be able to express love verbally and physically, and be affectionate, be kind, show kindness, show compassion. I mean, we're going to get into all these things.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that brings us to number 3, compassion. You should expect compassion from your partner. So if you're going through something,
Oh, yes.
maybe you're having a bad day or you had a bad experience, you should expect compassion from your partner.
Right.
Not sarcastic remarks.
Oh, right.
Not a joke. Not
exactly.
Not not demeaning your feelings.
Right. I know what you're talking about. Yes.
So what's important to you, what matters to you should matter to the other person.
Yes,
at the same
really like
same
that.
level. If Teresa is upset about something, whatever it is, it should matter to me that it matters to her.
Right.
The same way with me, if I'm upset about something, I expect her to have compassion with me. Right, Teresa?
And sometimes you may have to just gently draw that out, try to engage them in conversation and, hey, what's wrong? Is everything okay? Did something happen at work? Somebody cut you off in traffic? You can talk to me about it and show that compassion by being concerned for their welfare. I mean, that's the beginning, and help them to talk about it, not to just vent everything, but talk about it so that you can say, okay, I understand. Yes, I know that's happened to me too, and I know what you're feeling. But if you don't know what they're feeling, you don't have to say that, but just say, I want to listen. I want to let you talk about it, and we'll pray about it together. Whatever you need, I'm here for you, and show that concern and that compassion. I really like that.
That is so good. That kind of flows into the 4th one.
Respect. Yes. I like that. Yeah, it really does, because if you respect your spouse or your prospective spouse, someone that you intend to marry, you can expect that person to always be kind and show honor to you. Exactly. I think that's so important, because I know that I've dated people that did not show that respect. It was like my feelings didn't matter. What I cared about didn't matter. If I was going through something, didn't matter. Or, what I felt my calling was, and that it was, if that was the most important thing in my life and not just them or the relationship at the time, then my calling was first and my relationship with God was first. Some people did not respect that. And that was hard for me. Like, I can understand that, because I know my relationship with God has to come first. So, I have to respect that you have a walk with God, and you need to hear from God for you personally, for our marriage, for our family, for our ministry, and I can, you can expect me to respect that, to respect your walk with God and what He is telling you, and not just say, well, I think I know better, or God told me this. We need to show respect for each other.
Wow.
Yeah, so honoring what is important to you, honoring you as a person. I mean, God has really talked to me about that a lot since we've been married, for the 32 years, that if I'm not showing Him honor, then He can't live up to His potential, and I'm actually doing Him a disservice, and I'm doing a disservice to God, because He gave me this husband. He put our marriage together. He brought us together, and He can expect me to show Him honor. It's not a prideful thing to expect me to honor Him and show Him respect.
That is so good. One of the main needs in general of a husband, some people think is sex, but it's not. It's really honor.
Honor.
And you may have been,
that's
you may
huge.
have grown up in a household where people were called names, knucklehead, or you idiot. How come you're so dumb? How come you can't understand this math problem, and so forth? Whatever it was, or sharp tongue. But in your relationship, you always have to be kind and honoring in all your words and all your deeds, especially in marriage.
Especially in marriage. Hopefully we learned that as children. If you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. I mean, we had the sweetest teacher when our kids were little, and she would always say, if you want to say something, Is it kind? Is it helpful? And there was something else. She had like these 3 things that she would tell the children, but at least the kind and helpful. But if it's not kind and it's not helpful, then you don't need to be saying that to another person or about another person.
Right.
But, it has to be truthful, too.
Yeah, as you carry that off in your marriage, it'll also spill over to your children.
Yes. Oh, yes.
You teach them.
They learn by what they're observing.
Teach other people with respect, especially in their own family.
Yes, teach your children to respect authority, respect your authority first, the authority of pastors and leaders and teachers, and to show honor to those in authority, even to show honor to other children and their siblings. You just can't just say anything you want just because you feel it to somebody. You need to show them respect. And guard your words, guard your mouth. I mean, that could get into a whole Proverbs teaching right there. Yes, use your words very carefully.
So next week, we'll continue with some of these marriage expectations. But now we want to let you know you can listen to our audio podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Podcasts. Please leave us a review and share this podcast. You can watch this podcast on YouTube. Just search for the Inspiring Marriages channel. Mm-hmm. You can even listen to our podcast on your smart device. Just say, Alexa, play the Inspiring Marriages podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So this week, Teresa, we want to continue our story. So last week we gave the story of our engagement. Mm-hmm. And you go back and watch or listen to it and see how I started a week off really badly, but I ended on a good note. But now
it all worked out.
It all worked out. So now we're starting to prepare for marriage.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not just preparing for a wedding.
Right.
We're preparing for marriage.
Yes.
So Teresa, is there a difference between preparing for a wedding versus preparing for marriage?
Absolutely. And there can be an overemphasis on the importance of planning this one day, even though it's very special. It just helps you make that transition from single to married, and it's beautiful, especially if you have a church wedding and it's moving and brings the families together. All of that is wonderful, but it does not really prepare you for marriage. I mean, it's planning and it's working together on some things, but really it's an event. It doesn't really teach you how to prepare for life as a married couple.
So, Teresa, explain to me the pressure that young women have on creating this magical day. I mean, they're taught at very young
Yes, very
age,
young.
What your color's going to be, who your attendance going to be,
right?
Where it's going to be, just how magical it has to be.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about the pressure that young women have been under to just create this
perfect
day and the expense that goes with it.
Right. I mean, I was not under that impression that I had to have some huge princess in a castle wedding and marry the prince. I never had that. I wasn't raised that way. My parents were very practical and, weren't into extravagance or overspending or anything like that. So in that, it was really good, but maybe I kind of under-expected too, because I had no dream wedding in mind. I had no idea how I wanted a wedding to be if I got married. But a lot of women do, like you said, from early age as a little girl, they want to be a princess. They want to have a perfect wedding day. And it's almost like it develops into something bigger and bigger. To me, I call it the Cinderella syndrome. And it's been called that by a lot of people too. But just thinking you have to have this dream wedding, this dream day, and everything has to be so exquisite, so, extravagant. And it just kind of drives women to do too much, I think, to overdo emphasizing the wedding, overdo emphasizing this day. And if things are not turning out like this dream wedding, then they get so disappointed. Mm-hmm. And here they're trying to enter into marriage, and the focus is all about the wedding. and the things that they want and not getting, or the expenses and, I need more money for this. It just creates a lot of stress on the couple as well. It can be a real financial problem.
Most guys just want to know, when do I need to show up?
What should I wear?
And to be honest, let's be honest, guys, all we care about is the honeymoon. Really. Really. So the emphasis really is on the wedding. It's not really preparing for marriage. So you're working out plans together. That's a good thing, to work out plans together. Mm-hmm. But there's so much more to marriage than planning a single event.
Yes. I mean, you can do a little problem solving and that kind of thing, and work on bringing the families together, and those things are helpful and they're good. But like we said, we didn't know what all marriage was involved and what all challenges we would face and the things we would walk through together. But still, I'm so glad we weren't caught up in a big wedding, trying to plan a great big wedding. We just wanted things to be simple from the start.
And
yeah.
To be truthful, we've gone to big weddings and we've just enjoyed them. So
right. They're wonderful.
If that's what you plan out together, I mean.
Right. It's good that you can
agree on that. If you can do that together and not go into debt, good for you.
Right. That's so important.
So what we did, we started preparing for marriage as we were planning our wedding. So we were engaged 3 weeks after our first date. So
we don't recommend that.
So we started preparing for our wedding. So we started actually preparing for marriage.
Right.
So great thing our pastor did, he started a Friday night marriage series. Invited everybody in the church to the series.
That's right.
Singles, married, it didn't matter. And he started teaching on marriage. And
yes, that was so good, because for us it felt like perfect timing that we could hear some things spiritually and mentally and emotionally, that we could know more about what to expect, because if you haven't never been married, you really don't know what it's like to be married. You can't really anticipate, how much sacrifice you're going to need to make, like Jeff has been talking about, and what it's going to be like. I mean, just laying down your life for one another every day, pretty much. And that takes a lot of, just not just self-sacrifice, but, putting yourself and putting the other person ahead of yourself all the time, putting God first and your spouse second and yourself third, not last, but third. So yeah, that really was helpful. It felt like just perfect timing for him to start that teaching on marriage, and of course teaching from the Word of God and teaching practical things that he knew. He'd been married for some years and had children. They had a family with children by then. So it was real blessing. Yeah,
Jim Denny is a sweet man, and he was very wise in things of marriage. And one of the things we did, Teresa, as we were preparing for our marriage, not just our wedding, we submitted our relationship to our pastor.
Yes.
Because Jim Denny is a very kind and a wise man, especially in areas of marriage. So we had weekly sessions with him, and we were just talking about things we're doing to prepare for our marriage and for our wedding. So it's so important we become engaged, not become isolated.
Yes.
And I think it's a good idea to submit. I use the term submit, but talk with someone who is older and wiser. It may be your parents. It could be an older sibling who's married. It could be an older couple, but someone who has a great marriage.
Great marriage.
And you just talk about things concerning your marriage and your wedding, things you may not have thought of. How are you going to combine the checking accounts? Just how are you going to combine your household?
Right, combine your two households. You may not have decided yet where you're going to live as a married couple. I mean, they could help you with a lot of things. And I was thinking when you talked about this earlier, that there may be someone who is actually a counselor in your church, someone who is either a professional counselor or someone who counsels people who are getting married. They just kind of specialize in helping engage couples. It could be the pastor, or it could be someone else in leadership in your church. And some people may even go to a professional counselor just to make sure that if there are issues they need to work out before marriage, so there's not a lot of tension and disagreement right after getting married. You want it to be a fun time and a sweet time, the wedding and your early marriage. So they may notice some things that need working out. If you didn't know to talk about them, a lot of times it takes someone on the outside observing your relationship to say, I think there's an issue here that we need to address so that you two will not have this this hidden thing going on underneath the surface that's going to erupt once you get married. Because when you're married, everything's going to come out sooner or later. Insecurities or disagreements about things, it's all going to come out sooner or later. And better to know as much as you can before getting married, and let someone who has that perspective outside of your relationship to help you with those areas.
So this week, we want to have 2 tips, one for the husband, one for the wives. So my romance tips for the husband this week is do the dishes or clean up after dinner. Do something to help your spouse. Even if you take turns every night, other night one does the dishes, the other one does. On her night, do the dishes anyway.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, just
surprise her.
help clean up after dinner. One of our pastors in the church just recently told a story about when he and his wife were younger, that he was I think he was a pastor, even a pastor at the time, and they had young children, and he would come home, working all day, and he'd come home, get the paper, sit down in his chair, and read the paper, and his wife was cooking the dinner and getting it ready, and then they had dinner, and then she would have to get the kids ready for bed, and then put the kids to bed, and then she had to clean up after dinner, and then put the dishes away, and then they finally got to bed. He was like, "Hey, baby," and she said, "You got to be kidding!"
Right, because she'd been a busy mother
and too tired
homemaker all day long, and then had to do all this work even after he got home.
Yeah.
Right.
So husbands, help your wife. Help your wife so that she can just relax and enjoy her evening, and just prepare for the evening. It
really does help just to have a little downtime, a little time away from the chores, the responsibilities, and that makes a big difference. And it's just makes you feel appreciated. Like, well, he just doesn't expect me to do everything. He appreciates the work that I do, and he's willing to roll up his sleeves and do his part.
I washed all the dishes last Saturday.
Yes.
Every dish in the house got washed.
Everything that needed washing.
We had so many dishes, I had to put out towels on the island to put the dishes. It's
those hand wash dishes that just start piling up. I don't mind getting stuff into the dishwasher, but
we had a lot of hand wash dishes.
Dishes, things we don't want to overheat in the dishwasher. But anyway, so I have a tip for the wives, a romance tip, and we call these romance tips because if you are doing things kind and sweet and thoughtful for one another, it is romantic. It helps you feel more loving for your spouse, that, oh, they did something for me and I didn't even ask them, and they respect what I do and they want to help me with it. So mine was, men are pretty known for having a favorite meal, whether it's steak or ribs or lasagna or meatloaf. Usually it has to do with meat, of course. So if they have a favorite meal, just plan to cook that on a regular basis. It might be once a week or maybe every other week. Just make sure he knows he's going to get his favorite meal. He doesn't have to go to a restaurant and pay $30 to get his favorite meal. You can make it at home, and he may even enjoy jumping in and helping with it, which is always fun. That was one of our friendship builders, making a meal together. So that's always romantic. That's fun. Yes. Just doing things together. Yes.
You can connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Please like, follow, and subscribe. You can also connect with us via email at inspiringmarriages@att.net. You can leave questions and suggestions how to make this podcast better and what topics you would like us to explore.
Yes, absolutely. And all these links that we mention are in the show notes. It's so easy to find our social links and our email links. So just check out the show notes if you need to know more. And we appreciate you listening and watching.
And remember, husband and wife are friends for life.